Min had learned to measure himself by noise. He filled his days with meetings, messages, plans, and prime-time worries, an inventory of shoulds and musts that crowded his mind until nothing else could fit. Even on rare, quiet mornings, his thoughts spun like a radio tuned to too many stations. Success, he believed, required relentless doing. Rest felt like risk. Over time, the constant motion left him anxious, indecisive, and oddly hollow. One spring morning, when the city felt too bright and his thoughts even brighter, Min took a long walk without a destination. He wandered into an old neighborhood park where a thin path led to a tiny temple. There, under a low-slung tree, an elderly monk sat with a small teacup and no hurry in his posture. Min, restless and embarrassed by his own bustle, stopped and sat across from him.
"You look full,"
the monk said without surprise. Min laughed a little. "Full of plans," he admitted. "Full of noise. I don't sleep well. I can't make decisions without rechecking them 10 times. The monk handed him a clean glass jar. "Take this home. Fill it to the brim with water and bring it back." It felt like a prank, but Min followed the simple instruction. He filled the jar until the water nearly kissed the lip and carried it back, uneasy at how much attention the small act required. When he set it before the monk, the man asked him to drop a smooth pebble into the jar. The pebble sank. Water spilled and trickled over the sides. Min watched the puddle form on the mat between them. "When the jar is full," the monk said gently, "you cannot add anything more without losing what's already inside." Min understood the metaphor in a flash that felt both obvious and newly sharp. "So what? Throw things away?" he asked. "Not throw away," the monk answered. "Choose. The mind is not meant to hold every thought, fear, idea, and opinion all at once. Emptying your mind is not erasing yourself. It is creating space for what matters: intuition, clarity, peace." To show him, the monk led Min to a small pond. He picked a pebble and tossed it into the water. Concentric ripples flowed outward, colliding and confusing the surface. They sat and watched until the water stilled and the pond became mirror smooth. "Only in stillness do you see clearly," the monk said. "Only when the mind settles will your inner voice be heard." Min returned to his life with a new question: how to make room. The monk's reply had been plain: practice. He started with something small, 5 minutes each morning dedicated to breathing. He sat upright, counted breaths, and when thoughts intruded, he noted them without judgment and returned to the breath. The first days felt like a truce with his own mind. Weeks later, they became a habit. He added another ritual, a nightly clearing. Before bed, he took 5 minutes to list the 3 things that mattered that day. 1 practical step completed, 1 honest conversation, 1 small kindness. The list trimmed his inner catalog. Priorities gained weight and trivia fell away. When urgent emails arrived, he asked himself whether replying now would move the important things forward. Often they did not. Slowly, subtle changes entered his life. Decisions stopped feeling like battles. He found himself trusting a clear, quiet instinct where he had before sought a chorus of conflicting opinions. Work became focused rather than frantic. He completed projects without the habitual second-guessing that had once hollowed them of satisfaction. He slept better because his mind no longer rehearsed the day's catastrophes in endless loops. People noticed before he did. Colleagues began asking his opinion because it was calm and decisive rather than reactive. Friends appreciated his presence more. He listened with attention, and listening became a gift precisely because his mind had room to hold another's story. Lynn, his partner, said she felt seen in a new way, no longer competing with his internal noise. Min's transformation was not dramatic or linear. There were days when the jar felt full again, a crisis at work, an argument at home, an onslaught of responsibilities. On those days, he returned to the basics: breath, the nightly list, 5 quiet minutes before making important choices. Each return was less of a reset and more of a gentle recalibration. One evening, months into his practice, Min visited the park. The monk waited by the same tree, sipping tea. Min placed his hands around the empty space between them and said, "I thought I would lose my edge if I emptied my mind. Instead, I have more room." The monk smiled. "The mind that holds everything holds nothing well. Space is not absence. It is potential. When you empty your mind of noise, you make room for intuition, creativity, and courage. You will still act. You will act from clarity." As seasons turned, Min's life settled into a pattern of deliberate choices. He pursued ambition with less panic and more purpose. He learned that a clear mind did not promise easier days, but it promised truer responses. In meetings, he proposed ideas that felt whole. In quiet moments, he heard thoughts he had once drowned out. Most quietly, he enjoyed life's small pleasures, the taste of coffee, the texture of a well-read book, the laugh of a friend, because noticing them required an unhurried mind. Emptying his mind became an ongoing practice rather than a single achievement. Min kept the jar on a shelf until it gathered dust, a reminder that the lesson was memory more than object. Whenever the noise returned, he practiced again. The space he had made did not stay empty. It filled with what mattered: clear action, meaningful relationships, and the quiet courage to let go of what did not. The message was simple and powerful: to live well, create room. Empty your mind, not to become hollow, but to become ready.